Good evening and welcome to another episode of Run Till You're Done. For this episode, we are joined by an ultra runner not just known for chasing his own limits, but for helping others push past theirs. He's very well known for assisting on many fastest known time. He's a coach and has a massive passion for the hills. Welcome to the show, Howard Dracup.
Hey guys, you all right?
Welcome, Howard.
Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, no, good to be here.
So the first question that we usually ask all of our guests is, how did you first get into running?
First of all, I used it as I was obese from all the way through high school. So I first used it as a bit of a way to lose some weight, really. That would have been at about 16, 17. So I dabbled in a bit of jogging just to shift a couple of pounds. So I kind of got into running then, but it was very on and off. And then aged around 29, 30, I used it for mental health issues. I had a big nervous breakdown. And I just started running a hell of a lot more during that period. And it really kind of sorted me out. And then running competitively, I would have got into that around about 34. So simple answer would have been around about 16, 17. And then as the years went by, I started taking it a little bit more seriously.
What kind of weight are we talking about?
Oh, I was 19 stone. Seriously big. Yeah, I was a big lad.
and for those watching the video, you're obviously not 19 stone now.
So around about over the course of 12 months, I dropped from 19 stone down to around about 13. And then over the years, I've crept up to maybe about 15 stone again, but I used to lift heavy weights and I used to be into the gym. And then as I got into the running a little bit more, I kind of backed off of the weights, and obviously because the extra size I had just wasn't good for that, really. So then I trimmed down. I'm probably around about, I work in kilograms now, so I'm still quite heavy for a runner. I'm anywhere between 86 on a light day to around about 90 kilos generally, when I'm not trying to be that little bit lighter if I've got a competition coming up. But I can be anywhere between 86 kilos and 93. I come back from the cruise at Christmas and I'd ballooned up to 93. So yeah, I don't know what that is in stones, but I used to work in stones when I was younger, so I knew I was 19 stone, but I don't know what that is in kilograms. But yeah, now I work in kilos. So
yeah, everybody works in kilos now. Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing about saying about you had a nervous breakdown. My question following on from that is, when you first started the running and you were saying about being obese, did you find when you ran that helped with your mental health at that point? And is that what helped you through when you started getting into it a bit more seriously?
It's a funny one. I would say when I was obese, I didn't really, even though I was unhappy with how I looked and stuff, I wouldn't say I had no mental health issues then. So I mainly ran just for one sole reason. That was just because I was looking at the scales and seeing the weight coming off, and it was coming off fast. So I did it I didn't do it for why I do it these days. It was more like a thing I had to do then, and I probably didn't really enjoy it. If I cast my mind back, it was just I did it because it was I didn't have to go to the gym to do it, and it was making the weight come off. And I can't remember what the second part of the question was.
It was just, I think what I was getting at was like, why the running and why not the gym at first, of all the activities that you could do. A lot of people do I hate running, but they'll do like dance classes or go to the gym. And nowadays, high rocks.
Yeah, I think because of where I lived, it was a small village in the Pennines. We just had, where I used to live on the back doorstep, we just used to have a little nature reserve. And I'd always been outdoorsy, even as a kid. I just loved playing out in the bushes and the trees, messing around. And And I think I just saw that as I was going to the gym as well, and I was doing cardio, but yeah, maybe there was some sort of subconscious underlying, therapy in that as well. Maybe, like I just said a minute ago, that there wasn't anything. Well, certainly no mental health issues, but yeah, maybe I subconsciously enjoyed it as well, and it was just easy to do it. I just stepped out of my door, and I was on some nice trails, so I think that's why I did it.
And both for weight loss and your sort of mental health issues, did you seek guidance in that? Did you get somebody's help, or did you think this is how I'm going to do it?
Yeah, I just did it myself. I probably did it the wrong way. If I could do it now, I would do it a bit more controlled. But I was just probably, well, I really cut back on I starved myself a little bit too much. The weight came off fast, but it was because I was probably doing extreme things, not eating enough really, but it got me to where I wanted to get to. But yeah, I did it all myself.
And when you did first start, was it just around the village, on the roads, or did you go gung-ho straight into the hills?
Bit of both. Bit of the trails, bit on the road as well. I didn't mind getting out on the pavements. I didn't really know about trail running properly at that point and the places I could go to. So yeah, it was probably a mixture of both. But the trails would have been super flat manicure trail. Nothing like, what I'm into now.
And speaking about the stuff you're into now, obviously that what you just described was the start of your journey, but what was the first race that you did?
The first race that I did, believe it or not, was Dent Half Marathon, which is like a road race near Sedbergh, if you know where Dent is. Have you heard of that one? Dent Half Marathon?
No.
It's actually about 14 miles. I joined a road running club eventually, and it was part of their club's championship races. So I got on the coach and went to Dent. So that was the first road race I ever did. The first ultra would have been the Oldham Way Ultra. That's not going anymore. That was a really nice route, about 40 miles around. Have you ever been to Oldham?
I was
If you know
born
where
in
it is, you ought to,
Ashton.
will you? Yeah.
I was born in Ashton Underline.
Yeah, it's quite close. Yeah, so do you
Yeah.
know where Dovestones Reservoir is?
Yep.
Yeah, all the edges up near there. It was like a huge loop around that area there. It was really good. So yeah, first race was a road race, and I also did a few park runs. I know they're not really races, but I was treating them as races.
They're a race to yourself. If you want to do that, just don't tell the organisers.
Yeah.
I've said in the past, if I ever win one, it's definitely a race.
Yeah, so park runs and Dent Half first races.
What kind of time were you getting at park run, and compare that to now?
Yeah, I was probably faster back then because a lot of my training would have been road based and speed. So and to the good standards, very average 5K time, about 20 minutes something I think I got for my first park run, 20 40 odd or something like that. Yeah, not very fast really, but yeah.
As you said, you're just racing against yourself, so it's as fast as it needed to be at the time.
Yeah, and training wasn't really training back then, like I would do it now. If I wanted to get a 5K PB, it was more just I was doing lots of volume, long, slow miles with, I don't know, I wasn't even doing intervals, but I would do some more like faster, steadier running. But it was all just long plods really, so not too bad.
An Oldham Ultra, how far a distance was that for your first ultra?
It was around about 40 miles.
So it wasn't even it's just an ultra. That's quite a big distance, isn't it, for your first one?
It was a fair size one, yeah, and quite hilly as well. I mean, not hilly to the Lake District standard, but They'd have been around about a couple of 1,000 meters, I'm guessing. So yeah, quite a tough first ultra.
And it sounds as though like you had quite a lot of build up between when you first started, your first race, your first ultra. If you had to describe a moment when you first realised that this is what you do now and this you are a runner, when did that realisation dawn on you?
I would say when I was going through the mental health stuff, when I started getting out then, it was then that I realised that like I'd really gotten into it. I was just going out, everything was feeling good. I wanted to do a lot more of it. Yeah, I started venturing up into the Lake District a little bit as well. And then, yeah, I think it just took off from there, really.
And nowadays, you're more concentrating on trail running, as everybody should be. But do you still get out on the roads? Do you still do any sort of road races or anything?
I haven't been doing, but I've been chatting to my coach, Tim Piggott, and he reckons I should do a train for a 10K race for the next month or two. You know, nothing crazy, but just do a little bit of, you know, some faster training and you know, get a new 10K PB. So that's been discussed, but other than that, no, I haven't done any races. But training wise, I don't mind, you know, if I need to get a run done and I'm in a rush, I don't mind putting my you know, my road shoes on and doing, you know, a run around Kendal. What I have found is, and I try not to do it now, is because I've been in the hills so much that when I do run locally in the town, the fumes, it absolutely stinks. I'm not used to it, and where I've lived over the last 5 or 6 years as well, they've been little tiny villages. Kendal's the busiest I've had it in a long time, and I can't get over how polluted the air is when you're jogging. So I try to avoid it. I do some flatter stuff, but I love it on the canal, Lancaster Canal. On the other end of Kendal, it's great. There's no styles, no gates. It's just flat and straight. You can do about 10 to 15K on it with no interruptions. And you always see Josh Wade on there as well.
Back when I was a student, I went to uni in Aberdeen, and I never noticed the pollution, as you said. But when I went home in the sort of countryside, it was then that I almost felt like I was not missing the pollution, but it's like I can breathe. What's going on?
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? It really is like becoming a thing, isn't it? Like it's more apparent these days. You can really notice when you're in these areas and when you're not.
Yes.
Yeah.
See, for me, sure. I think that would be bizarre because I'm Glasgow based, so
yeah.
Even like getting out into it's so temporary, getting out into fresh air.
Yeah, you'll almost feel strange when you're in the clean air, won't you? Like,
exactly. Yeah. Have you ever done a road marathon? Official one?
Yeah, I've done a couple many years ago. So the first marathon I would have done was Manchester Marathon. It was the Essex back then. I think I read somewhere a couple of years after they scrapped that one because the distance was a little bit out.
Ooh,
so maybe that doesn't count anymore. I'm not sure, but that was my first marathon. I then did Liverpool Rock and Roll Marathon. That was a good one. I think that would be my PB, and even then it's not that fast. I don't think 3 hours 48 or something like that. I think if I was to go back and do a road marathon now, I could probably, if I trained for it properly, I'd like to hope to get around, I don't know, sub 3:15, maybe 3 hours at a push. I don't know. But yeah, so I did that, and then I did sorry, I went off on a tangent then. Snowdonia, the Brooks Snowdonia Marathon. That was great.
Sorry, Howard, I'm laughing because when you say the marathon time, it's not that fast. It was 3, and I'm like, no. Let's just stop right there. That's fast.
Maybe that's offensive, isn't it? I didn't really look at it.
It's not offensive. It just blows my mind.
like we said about the park run, It is what you're racing against yourself. It is what you consider fast for yourself. So, and I was just going to say, you never have to apologize for going off on a tangent. We're here to talk about anything you want. So,
I shall do it again.
And aside from like your own running, you're really well known for showing up and helping people on their FKTs. What draws you to being in that role for helping someone else shine on the hills?
Yeah, it's quite exciting, rewarding. It's good fun. It's good training. Like, you know, these challenges, you're often out for 5-10 hours at a time. You're normally going a little bit slower than normal, with a big heavy pack on your back, but it's all good training, and it's just really rewarding, you know, like to see them achieve something that they put so much hard work into, and then when they pull it off at the end, it's just nice to know that you helped contribute to that. And you never know when you might need it back as well, so it's always nice to it's always nice to be, you know, it's nice to be nice.
it definitely is. One of our future guests, Ross, just did the spine at the weekend there, and I've got a favourite call for a race in a few months' time, so just warning you, Ross.
And now you've announced it on the podcast, he can't say no.
But yeah, when you're out helping these people, what do you look for when the sort of physical things that they're doing? How do you approach that and helping them emotionally? Do you just really balance up when somebody needs to suck it up and get on with it, or do they need a bit of a hug?
Yeah, yeah, it's a tricky one, and I guess if you've ever been the person in the driving seat on these challenges, like you've been that person, it does make it a little bit easier. You can almost relate to what they're going through and stuff like that. So, for example, John Kelly, when I helped him out on his Pennine Way record-breaking attempt, it was the final leg over the Cheviots, and he was literally on the line. He had about 3 or 4 minutes before he was going to be, he was not going to get it. So on that, regardless of how he was feeling, we just had to give him some tough love. It was like we just bullied him over the Cheviots. Like there was no other alternative. So when you're in that kind of a predicament, you need to give them the tough love. Yeah, it's quite a big the question you asked, it can be given. I can give like quite a few answers for it. So like,
well, we want them all.
Yeah, no, my mind's kind of like gone a little bit blank. I do this all the time. Like, you ask a question and I'm thinking, what was the initial question? So I was going to say, like, initially you can see when they are, just from like how they are acting on the round. You know, if they've gone quiet, you ask them if they're all right. How are you doing? Are you okay, bud? Do you need anything? That normally sparks a bit of conversation. If they're chatting away and they're chirpy, it's probably just a case of reminding them that they need to keep eating and drinking, because that's what the bugger's for, not eating and drinking. Like, if they can get away with it, they don't want it, but they need to, because if they don't, they're going to bonk or they're going to stop moving. And they've just eaten for like past God knows how many hours before you've got to them. So they're maxed out. They don't want to eat, but they need to, and that's quite a hard job. So yeah, you just got to look at how the signs that they're giving off, and then just be that person that's going to be fun for them and keep them going, be motivating and encouraging, and just get them to the end. But yeah, it's just reading into them really, and just looking at what's going on and not getting into a bit of a daydream yourself, and just keep your eye on the task that you're there for, which is to get them to the end and make sure that you do a good job really.
Are there any FKTs that stand out for you as being support? Was there anybody on rounds that you didn't think were going to finish and they managed it? Like, even like, not even so much FKTs, but even if you're assisting someone on the round and they managed to complete it. Is there anything that stuck out for you?
No, I don't think so. I think all the rounds I've been on, unfortunately, it doesn't always end this way, but all the ones I've been on, they've always managed to be successful. I'm just trying to think if I'm wrong in saying that. There has been Andy Berry when I helped him on his he was going for the record on a Bob Graham quite a few years ago, the same year as when Kim Collison broke it. They both set off at the same time. He got to middle of leg 2 and he just wasn't having a good day. Like his intent was to break the record, and as soon as he realized that he wasn't going to break the record, he just literally said he could continue and he could do the full thing and he would have been fine. He would have got a good time, but I think he knew that he wasn't going to get the record. So that round didn't go well. I forgot the question again. I know you said you was asking me about is there any rounds that didn't.
Is there any rounds that stick out in your mind that were really good for you when you supported someone?
Oh, yeah, sorry. So I've completely got the question wrong there.
That's okay.
Yeah, John Kelly's was good. I mean, I've already mentioned that one. That was good. They've all been good. Like John Kelly's was good because it was just like we was on that final leg and it was like on the line. And he really dug deep and we got him in and he was like 15 minutes ahead in the end or something like that. So John Kelly's was really good. I've helped Sabrina Vergy a few times. Hers were great, just in the sense that, you know, they were just big FKTs, you know, the Wainwright's rounds. They don't just go on for 24 to 48 hours. It's a full week of a job practically. And I think she's had quite a few goes now and I have helped out on more than one of them. I think I've helped out on 2 and I can't remember which one it was. It might have been the first one. But I literally helped nearly every day. So it was dead exciting. You know, just like every day I just kind of wasn't even meant to be on that leg and I'd go home, go to bed, eat, wake up in the morning and just be like, that's where the tracker is. I can probably do that little bit. And then I go out again. So that was good fun. And it was good when she got to the end as well. It's just good when you see them get to the end and they finished. James Gibson helped James on his double winter Bob Graham a couple of weeks ago. I'm probably going to say that was up there with John Kelly's as well. Completely different round. I think with James's, it was so good because that was my favourite kind of running in my favourite kind of scenery. We did legs. It would have been leg 3 if he was doing a singular clockwise Bob Graham, but it was like something like leg 7, I think it was, because he'd done the double. So it was going from Dunmail Raise over to Wasdale. Now I love that area. I love that kind of running. It's just technical and rocky and rugged, and it was all icy, so it was like everything was glistening. It was like having diamonds on the floor, running on diamonds. It were literally all sparkly. Clouds were blowing in and out. The sunshine was out. We was above the clouds at times. Sunset over Wastwater. I need to say no more. You can just imagine it, can't you? It was just like one of the best running days ever. The conditions were just brilliant. And then to be helping somebody out do that and then know that they've succeeded, that was probably up there with one of the best supports I've done. Yeah, for sure.
They're the ones that you've sort of an achievement for helping them. But what out of any of them do you think that they were on the brink? You don't know if they were going to make it, but you think that you made the difference. Is there any
where I kind of really helped them?
Yeah,
I would say John Kelly's for sure. I mean, I took a pizza for myself. I didn't take any sports nutrition, and that was my food for the night. I was meant to give John the odd slice, but he took a shine to it. He couldn't eat anything, and he practically ate my whole pizza. So you could say without the pizza, Yeah, without the pizza, he might not have made it. So,
Yeah.
there's that. And we just had to keep really pushing him. Like, he was in a lot of pain, not because of an injury as such, but just from pushing hard. He was still running. And just the way we did it. And, we all made a conscious effort to turn our head torches on really bright just to keep him awake. And just the words we were saying to him, going, "Come on, John," proper, like going, "Come on, John." Bit cringy, really, and a bit embarrassing. I felt a bit bad after, like, we wasn't shouting at him like nastily, but we were going, "Come on, John, you can do it, you can do it." We just really had to beast him over the Chevios. So I would say, yeah, that is kind of true. Like, if he didn't have us there, he'd have been so tempted to just take it easy.
That's what people need, though. And
yeah.
It's kind of a nice segue onto the next question, because we've got wrote down, what is the biggest misconception that people have about FKTs and the support that goes into them?
Probably lots of things, really. I mean, I had to think about this question for a while before I come on the call, but I would say just how much hard work goes into a singular challenge. It's a year, sometimes 2 years, depending on how big it is. It could even be 6 months, if it's something smaller. But like, the amount of effort and hard work that goes in from the individual running it, the investment they make physically, mentally, and emotionally before they set off, not to mention what they do on the in the challenge. And then you've got the road support that need to make sure that the logistics are going well. People dropping out, finding somebody else. It always happens, and nobody does it on purpose, but it does happen. So making sure that they're there and they get no sleep. I've helped people out before, just on the road support, and you come back from that and you're knackered, for a couple of days. So there's all the effort that goes into that, and then you've got the team on the hill. They put a lot of effort in. There's normally 2 to 3 people at a time with them. And they're always constantly like rotating with other people. So it's a massive like an organizing thing. And I think just for people that don't really know too much about it, they probably don't realize how much has gone into that behind the scenes. That could be one of the biggest misconceptions. One could be, a lot of people say to me, like, how can you help somebody break something that you'd set or something like that? Maybe, like, more often than not, you'll have the current record holder helping somebody out who's trying to break their record, and they're smiling and laughing, and they're glad to see them break it. So people might be a bit like, how does that work? But it's not like that in trail running, is it? It's more like everyone's trying to push the boundaries and see what can be done. What's the limit? So that could be one thing.
I think what you're saying there is a sort of, they're achieving something. Like, you help a lot of people, you're achieving something by them succeeding. So the current record holder, they are succeeding by breaking their own record.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy, but yeah, it's right. Yeah.
So you mentioned that John Kelly is a bit of a pizza fan. What about yourself during races or adventures that you do? What kind of fuel do you have other than pizza?
So for, say, like a long run, it'll be generally some sort of like, it's always carbohydrate for me, mainly, if it's under 5 hours, under 10 hours of a training run. But it would be more things like, say, jelly babies or like Nutri-Grain bars, squashies, sugar. Basically, I eat a lot of sugar, but it's normally stuff you can buy from a shop, stuff that's not that expensive, because race nutrition is expensive, right?
Yeah.
And if you if you're on that all year round, when you do your races, you're not going to be able to stay on that for long durations because you've maxed it out in training. So I'll tend to use like, real food if you like, but it's still mainly carbohydrate based during training runs. If they're really long, say for example, if I did the spine race, there would be a lot more like substantial real food in there, sandwiches, wraps, bits of everything really. Probably a little bit less sugar. There's still be some sugar in it, but not highly concentrated sugar, just because I would go off it over a number of days. And then in racing, and again, it all boils down to how long the race is, but just say, for example, anything under 20 hours, maybe even longer than that. Ultra Trail Snowdonia, that took me 30 odd hours, and I think I literally lived off gels and carb drink on that one. It's hard to do, but it's doable. So yeah, general rule of thumb for me is racing, sports nutrition, and sorry, I'll just put my phone on silent. And if it's not racing, real food.
And what gels did you take during UTS? What works for you?
Yeah, so I was on the Precision Fuel and Hydration products. I was on the floor gels, so you can get. Do you know what they are?
We obviously do because we're experts in these sort of things, honestly. But for the listeners, why don't you explain it?
Yeah, so instead of using like a singular gel in a singular individual wrapper, what you undo and put in your mouth, you can squeeze out one big massive gel into like a squishy flask, a soft flask that you would normally put water in your front of your pack. You make one of them literally into a humongous gel, so that you're not opening like this would be 10-30 gram gels, but you have it all in an individual flask and you just squeeze little bits into your mouth. And if you train it, you can almost, over a couple of runs, you can figure out what 30 grams is. I know that like three sucks of what I call a suck, that's me 30 grams done, and it's literally to the millimeter, honestly. I've practiced it that much. So I was using the floor gels, the chews. I was using the carb mix whenever I hit my crew, rather than add additional weight to my pack when I was already putting weight into it in the form of water. I thought, why not, guys, 90 grams of carbs in with my liquids as well, just to make my pack a little bit lighter. So I was on carbohydrate mix. So that's what I was on in between the checkpoints. And then when I would hit the checkpoints, then if there was something there that I fancied, like a bit of a bagel or something like that, I quite like a bagel, just a plain bagel, nothing on it. Rice Krispie Squares bars, quite like them. So yeah, it's a bit of a lie. I was on bits of real food when I got to places I could have real food, but in between the checkpoints, I would just be on sports nutrition.
And what's the most ridiculous thing that you've eaten during an adventure or a race, because it's the only thing that you could manage and stomach?
So for this question, I couldn't really think of. I've got one of them brains that can just eat anything. It's the obese kid in me. I can just eat anything whenever I want to eat it. But the most ridiculous thing is when I did the Spine Challenger South in 2019, it might have been. On the way back from kit check, I went to McDonald's through the drive-through, ordered a couple of double cheeseburgers, put them underneath my kit box that was really heavy, so they were squished to like frisbees. I put one in my Hebden Bridge drop bag and one in the one to go to Malham Tarn, and at both of them checkpoints I had a cold double cheeseburger from Mackey's.
That would have been quite good for salt though, would it not?
Gorgeous, yeah, it was really nice. A cold ketchup as well and the cold cheese. It was really nice.
Something that I don't think I've said for many years, but I used to say was, I've got a fat person living inside me. Because
that's
like
what
you,
I'm like. Well, yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I can just eat anything.
Yeah.
Right. Next question. This might be somebody else's achievement that you feel personally you've achieved through it, or it might be something you've done. But what is your biggest running achievement?
Oh, biggest running achievement. I'd not looked at it from that angle, but yeah, like, helping other people out. Even though that's their achievement, it's a good achievement of yours helping out. So yeah, the James Gibson one the other week was good achievement from, being a good person and helping them achieve one of their successes. But my own personal best running achievement was probably when I did. Have you heard of the Steve Parr round?
I have, but I'm not sure what it is.
Yeah, so it's been around for a long time, but it's getting more and more popular. It's all the way in rights in around above 2,500 feet. It's around about 114 miles long and around about 14,000 meters. Starts and finishes at the Moot Hall. Well, you don't have to, as long as you can start anywhere on the route as long as you visit the Moot Hall. I started at the Moot Hall and I went clockwise. So I think it was 2021. I was meant to be doing Ultra Trail Snowdonia 100-mile race, and then a week before the race, we all got an email saying due to COVID, because this was when COVID was brand new, it got cancelled, unfortunately. So I was like really fit and didn't have anything to go and do now. So I put it onto, I think it was Instagram. I just said, anybody know what I can do? And a guy called Paul Wilson messaged me back and said, do a Steve Parr round. He sent me the details, sent me the route and the rules and stuff like that, because I'd never heard of it. And yeah, that week I got a crew together. Didn't manage to go and recce any of it. Just kind of went in blind and ran Steve Parr's original route. And yeah, I broke the record on it. I knocked about 20 minutes off. It was very close. And I'll say, yeah, that's probably my own personal biggest achievement, breaking that record. It's subsequently been broken many times since then, but
But you held it, and that's what matters.
yeah, I held it for a little while. And then another one that springs to mind as well is finishing the Swiss Peaks 360, if you've heard of that one.
Yeah.
That was, really enjoyed that race. It was just literally 4 days. Yeah, 4 days running across Switzerland in the mountains. And what's not to love about that? It was spiritual, just every day, just flying through the mountains, sunrise, sunsets, just on your own. It was just fab. I'd probably say that's one of my biggest achievements as well.
And Moot Hall, for those that are listening and think, oh, I've heard that before, that is in Keswick, and it's where the Bob Graham round starts.
Yeah, it's very similar to a Bob. The first two legs are very similar to a Bob Graham. Even leg 3 is very similar to a Bob Graham, but instead of dropping off, you do an out and back to Catesty Cam, back to Helvellyn, and then from Helvellyn, then instead of going towards Fairfield, well, depending which way you do it, because you can do it a few ways, we dropped off to St Sunday then, and then from St Sunday over towards like the Far Eastern Fells. But yeah, it's very. The rules are very similar to a Bob Graham. You get a crew, you have witnesses, you have 48 hours on this one though. It's very similar to a double Bob Graham, but just not 2 loops of the Bob Graham. It's a bit harder. There's not as many trods on sections. With Bob, there's a lot of trods you can follow. It's been going for that long, but the Parr round's a bit. Some of the lines you're taking are a lot more. There's no trod.
It's
been
much
100 years.
Yeah, it's much harder. You did the harder thing. That Bob Graham thing, that's the easy option. you did the hard one.
Maybe.
Do you prefer going out and doing the rounds, like you said about the Steve Parr round, when it's not a big event, or do you prefer events?
Good question. So for years, that is the only personal type challenge that I've done, and I really enjoyed it. And then ever since then, I've been roped back into, and I don't know why, just doing more races. I plan to race this year, and about 2 weeks ago, I changed my mind, and I've gone from doing a big race. I was going to do Ultra Trail Snowdonia 100-mile race. I've pulled out of that, and I'm going to do some more personal challenges instead. Because I just think, so yeah, to answer your question, racing's good, but yeah, with the personal challenges, it's still a race, but you've not got any direct competition in the there and then, if you get me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's just what you're doing, and it can be a bit more pleasant, I guess, mentally going into it. If you're going to enter a big race, there's a lot of pressure because of like the trackers and stuff like that. I mean, well, you can have you'll have a tracker when you do these personal challenges, but there's only you on the route, if you get me. So there's less pressure in that sense. But I think when you're in a race, and this isn't how everybody else feels, it's probably just my personal opinion, but when you're racing an event, you know, you're racing everybody, and sometimes I can feel a bit embarrassed by how I've done. But when you're doing a personal challenge, even though you could compare yourself to a leaderboard afterwards, it's weird. You kind of don't look at it. I don't look at it like that whilst it's happening. There's less pressure certainly.
On a race day, everybody's got the same conditions, whereas on a on a Bob Graham round sort of thing, you're the only one racing in those specific conditions. Do you think that's...
Yeah, you can't get your ass whooped off anybody else on that day. Might be a better way of putting it. Yep. You can get your ass whooped off the weather and stuff, but you've not got a particular person that you really wanted to beat beating you. There's no like, you can't feel that finishing is a great achievement and the personal challenges. Whereas you could finish a race and feel a bit let down by your performance due to your time. Well, not your time, but your position, certainly. If that makes any sense.
And for those listening that aren't aware, Howard has just completed one of the Spine races this week. We're recording on Sunday night. Spine's just finished this morning. Which race did you take part in?
I did the Sprint North.
And how was it?
Really good. Yeah, I enjoyed it. A little bit short for me, really. Still 42 miles, which is a long way, but I'm not really known for shorter races or entering shorter races, and maybe not running fast in shorter races. But it went really well. Finished fourth in the end. It was close between me and third, but I had him in my sights and I just couldn't catch him. It was good fun. I think it helped me get a faster time trying to chase him down, and I think it helped him get a faster time, me breathing down his neck. But no, it was a great day. Like the weather was really nice. It was a bit grey when we set off, bit of drizzle, but within an hour that stopped. Going over the Cheviots, I looked over my shoulder. Sky was orange and pink. Nice bank of clouds rolling in. The ground was nice. It was like soft enough to not be rock hard, but underneath, say, maybe a couple of inches, you felt yourself bottom out where it was still bullet hard from when it was really cold the week before. But the rain that we'd had last week, it just kind of softened it up a little bit. So the Cheviots were as slow going as they could have been. Apart from when you got to the Cheviot itself, there was like knee-deep snow. So that slowed us down a little bit. But no, I had a good race, really. I can't complain. I said 9 hours I'd be really happy with, and I got 9:15 or something like that. Yeah, to say we was doing a bit more walking on the Cheviot because we were just sinking in the snow was really tiring. No, I had a good race. I'd recommend it. It's a good introduction to anybody who's thinking about doing one of the longer races. You have to buy all the kit. So if you've invested that much into it for the kit, you've got the kit for the rest of the other races then.
So that sounds like you're going to be doing one of the other races.
Yeah, I have. So I've done the Challenger South. I've done the Challenger North. I've done the Sprint North. I just need to do the Sprint South and the full. I'm going to do the full next year now. I've decided.
And you're going to...
Sorry. I was that's good that when you say you've got the full kit as well, because I know that can be a bit off-putting for people even thinking about the spine, not only like with the training and the distance in itself, but the kit list. It's phenomenal, isn't it? But necessary.
Yeah, it's extensive. At some point, I've not done one for 2 or 3 years. And yeah, you used to have to carry a stove as well, but they've taken that out, which I think is good, really, because they're not saying you can't take a stove. If you want to take a stove and cook yourself some food, you can do. But for the people that aren't doing that, at least you don't have to carry a stove now. So that's pretty good. But yeah, there is a lot of kit, and just I think a lot of people can get overwhelmed by it because they tend to get too engrossed in what everybody else is doing. Whereas what you should be doing in the spine is if it passes kit check and you want to use that, you can use that. You know, try not to get too worried about that your piece of kit isn't exactly the same as somebody else's piece of kit. As long as it passes the description and you can afford it, get it.
Yeah. And you said, well, first of all, I always think it's funny that they call it the sprint, because 42 miles, if you're sprinting that, then good luck. The other thing I was going to say was, you said that you had third in your sights. Was there anything that you think that you could have done on the day, not in training, but actually on the day, that you think now I could have had an extra gel and I might have been able to catch him? You're not saying that you would have, but to make yourself better.
Yeah, I think I've asked myself all this, and I think this is why I say I'm normally quite hard on myself if I don't have a good race. And even though I didn't get that third position, I was a bit gutted because in the previous races I've ever done in winter, I finished third. So I was really hopeful that on a good day I might get my third in this race, and I'd have had a third in every single winter spine going nearly. So I kind of, yeah, even though I lost that, which was quite important, I still had a really good run in my own head because my fueling went to plan. Even if I would have had another gel, I don't think it would. I was already on 100 grams of carbs, and I wasn't running very fast. If I'm being honest, I wasn't like the intensity. I was running pretty fast, but the intensity at which I was running at, you know, I wasn't at lactate threshold or anything like that. I mean, I would have been at certain times, but for the most of the race, I was running in zone 2. So no, my fueling went well. I mean, there's a few things I could have done to have been really, really damn close to him. So there was just before I come into Burness, my watch was telling me to go left. So I'd already gone past this left turning before I realised that. So I was like, oh, damn, turn around. And I couldn't find this left turn, so I'm looking for it. So I thought, oh, I'm panicking then because I'm bleeding time. I'm thinking there's a guy behind me somewhere and there's a guy in front's getting away. So I run back up for about another 30 seconds. Still no left turn. I'm wondering where this left turn is. So I ran back and I just saw this little tiny, like a dog trail where dogs just run off into. And it was all like the river had burst its banks. There was all dead trees in there, tree trunks everywhere. It was a mess. So I thought, I was really worried that I was going to get penalised on time if I didn't stick to the right trail. So I started wading through all this dead forest, basically, like knee deep in river where it burst its banks. I didn't see anybody overtake me, but the guy that was in third was obviously on his way then, but I couldn't see him. I'm assuming he didn't go this way. I'm assuming I'm the only person in the race that was like adamant they were going to stay on the GPX line. And then by the time I'd gotten through to where it was runnable again, the path I was on just run parallel literally with where I was. But I knew at some point, because the funniest thing is I've recce'd it. So I had recce'd this about 4 to 5 weeks earlier, and I knew there was a left turn. So I'm thinking, the river's just really burst its banks over the last couple of days, and this is you're on the right path. Anyway, when I got to where it was runnable again, I was on where the left turn was. I think what had happened is the organisers, when you plot a route on OS Maps or something, you can have it on snap, if you know what that is, when you tap it and it just like goes. And I think they've just snapped it and not really looked at that little particular 100-metre stretch that took them through there. At a glance, you look like you're on the fire road, but the GPX fire had pulled us off anyway, so I waded through that. So that wasted about 3 minutes, I'm going to guess, 3 to 4 minutes, and used a lot of energy because I was like having to lift my legs really high. I was trying to push. My heart rate was sky high at that point just because I'm exerting myself trying to go fast through all this crap. So I wasted a bit of time there. And then I sat down on a bridge for 2 minutes and put my spikes on, but I think that saved me time. If I had not put them micro spikes on, I would have been a lot slower over the next couple of Ks. So that's not a waste of time. Coming off the high route, there is 2 styles next to each other, and because it was dark, I couldn't see. There was a fence line on the other side of the wall that separated the 2 styles, and I just so happened to get on the wrong side of the wall, the wall where I should have been. I had to climb over a barbed wire fence and a farmer's, like a shoulder height wall. So that probably wasted a minute, like a nav error. Even then, so if I could say 4 minutes, I think he finished about 5 or 6 minutes ahead of me. I would have only been a minute or 2 behind him. He finished 6 minutes ahead of me, I think, in total in the end. But no, other than that, if I could have just been a little bit more mentally fired up, really, really really pushed myself to the depths of like despair. But I already felt like that in my head. I was ready for giving up in my head. I was ready for thinking just let him have it. But you know, he was so close that I would have been daft to just throw the towel in. So I did carry on pushing. I guess we were both just really up for it.
Yeah, I think you've got to think now that the result is the result. It's what happened, because for all you know, he might have made exactly the same errors, and he's thinking, well, I could have been even further ahead of him. So
he might have made a few errors as well. Yeah.
And before we move on from the spine, the last question I've got from the whole week is, you had very successful athletes and all of them completed. Was there any bit of advice that you gave all of them the same advice, even though they would have been very different athletes, I would imagine? Was there one piece of consistent advice you gave across the races?
Yeah, a few things. Don't get too caught up in running too much on that first day. I always say to them, give it a couple of days, and if you still feel like you want to, if you feel after a couple of days that you want to run, then go for it. But I think a lot of them found out that after 24 hours of that, you ain't going to be, the elites might be, the elites might be jogging it all the way through consistently, but most people are going to be fast hiking it. Mm-hmm. So I said to them, don't get too caught up in running too much in them first 24 hours, because I said, if you do, you either won't finish or you'll have a dreadful second half of the race. I said, you'll be wanting to walk and you won't be able to walk. So that was one good bit of advice, and I think most of them have said that, that's what they did, and that's what allowed them to finish. The other bit of advice is just pre-warning them that in the build up to the race, you're really excited. This is going to be one of the best things you've ever done, you think, and then you get into the race and it's the complete opposite. It's the worst thing you've ever done. You're questioning your life choices. You're thinking, what the bloody hell was I thinking? But then it does change when you finish. Then it goes back to the best thing you ever did, because you finished. But during the event, you're torn. You just want to quit. Maybe not for everybody, but for most people, there's points in that race when you're questioning, have you got what it takes to finish? I know when I did the Challenger North, I wanted to quit along Hadrian's Wall. I was nearly in tears. I was torn. I was like, I really want to quit, but I can't quit. I just can't do it. They've got this tracker on me. There's people watching. If I pull the plug, how does that make me look? And just because it's hard, you got to keep going. So you need to pre-warn them that, to be ready mentally, that they're gonna be faced with this, and they need to have a way to stay in it.
Yeah.
Because if they've not had that pre-warning, when that comes to them, they can't handle it. They're like, oh my God, like I didn't expect this to happen. this was supposed to be fun. This was supposed to be nice. It was supposed to be the time of my life. And after 12 hours, when you're freezing cold and wet and you're hungry and you're not running anymore, and you've got another 100 and odd mile left, and you're not even 1/3 in yet, and you're tired. What do you do then? So it was pre-warning them that when they get to that point, they can't quit. They really can't. Not unless they really, there's something badly wrong, like that they're in danger or they're severely injured. But I said to them, if you get to 100k in and you want to quit because you're tired, then why have you entered?
Yeah.
You need to. You can't quit for that. You need to have a why, basically, and you need to talk yourself back into getting out there. So I did pre-warn all of them that this is going to happen. So that's a good one. Good solid advice. Look after your feet. Just look after them feet. If you neglect them, then yeah, you're not going to be able to walk on them, are you? And then just take sleep as it comes. I said, don't factor in the sleep. Don't rigidly tell yourself. I mean, make plans when you think you might want to sleep, because it's just sensible. But if you get there and you're not tired, then don't sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Don't lie there just looking at the ceiling if you can get another 6 to 10 hours on the trail.
Yeah.
Just take your sleep as it comes. I think that's pretty much about it, really, for like same advice to everybody. There's probably lots more, but I don't think you guys have got enough time.
And the saying goes, do as I say, not as I do. But did you follow that same advice? You're obviously, it wasn't a multi-day one that you were doing this time, so you weren't sleeping. But were you questioning your life choices?
Oh, absolutely. I've done it. I didn't. So this was another reason why the sprint north went so well, because I didn't have any dark moments. I really enjoyed it all the way through. I was kind of. It got tough at times, but I was never ever wishing I'd not entered it. But there's been some races that I've entered. I'm trying to think of which one it might have been. Calderdale Way Ultra, 50 miler years ago. I got 30 miles into that and I was like questioning my life choices. So yeah, it can happen in the shorter races, but yeah, it happens in nearly all the long races that I do. Swiss Peaks 360, for example. I was only 18 hours in, I think, and my tummy went, my stomach was in bits. I just felt really nauseous, and I was thinking, like, you're only into day one. You've only made it. You're not even at checkpoint 2 yet, and the 6 checkpoints. Like, you've got another 3 days ahead of you yet. How are you going to finish when you feel like this so early? So when you start getting thoughts like that, yeah, you need to have a why. And I just tell myself that I put myself here. Like, nobody else has put a gun to my head and said, you need to do this. I'm here because I like it. And sometimes I just force a smile. I physically just sit there and I actually thought, I start laughing and just telling myself that, talking to myself like a lunatic on the trail, just going, you put yourself here. No one's done this to you. Be grateful and just smile. And I sit there just going, just forcing a smile out. And it works. After a bit, you forget and you start thinking about something else. And you're back in the game then. You just need to ride it out. You just need to keep going until you forget about how bad it is. And then you start thinking about how good it is then.
And the last piece of advice you gave was to look after your feet. And you said that you went through a flooded sort of river, burst its banks. How were your feet?
Pretty good. I mean, after 9 hours, I'd expect them to be pretty good. But yeah, I had deck shell waterproof socks on. So my feet stayed, I'm going to say dry. But yeah, I had no issues, no blisters, no hot spots. I've generally got, that's one of my strengths. I've got really good feet for this kind of stuff. Don't really get blisters.
And the last question about this, you give all the advice to your clients, but when you're running a race, does having clients, you're responsible to, like, they're accountable to you, but you're also accountable to them. Does that make you feel, I can't give up because they're watching me? Does that benefit you?
It really does. So yeah, you've got that. You've got the athletes that you're coaching looking at you and thinking he's my, mentor, stroke role model, maybe. But not only that, yeah, I always think it's bad for business if you can't finish a race. You've got potential future athletes that might want to be coached by you. If you do well in this race and you finish, they're gonna want to be coached by you. You've been successful, you've managed to finish, and that's sometimes what athletes want in a coach. They want a coach that's been there, done that. If you've entered a race and you've not finished it, but you're a coach, they're going to go to another coach that's been there, done that race and finished it. So yeah, definitely. You've got to finish it for that reason sometimes.
With the dot watching and the trackers, it was exciting this week because whenever we had a few friends in the full spine, and whenever the numbers in the bed went below it, you were like, right, okay, they're having the rest, and you would go back to it maybe a couple of hours later, like, right, why are they not moving now? Come on, we're waiting on you moving north.
Yeah,
there was a few times that I said to Nikki, they're being lazy. Why are they not moving? They're only 200 miles into this race. Come on.
We did actually joke as well. We looked at the dwell time of a couple of them and they're like, oh, they've had a lovely holiday last week. They went into the bubble. They had no worries apart from just going up the Pennine Way. And it's so not that simple.
Yeah, you can see everything on them trackers, can't you? You can't. It just shows everything. Yeah, you can't hide. No, you can't.
So as you discussed earlier on, your reason for your why you run changed from the losing weight to just enjoying it. Is that why you run now? Is it for still the enjoyment, or has that changed since?
Yeah, no, definitely. It's just for enjoyment. I love the hills mainly. I mean, I love running anywhere, but I moved to the Lake District so that I could run in the hills a little bit more. So yeah, I didn't think it was possible to enjoy my running anymore, but as the years go by, it's not getting boring. I'm not getting fed up. The passion's growing, if anything. I just love running in the hills. I love the views. I love how I feel after it. Just trying to better myself and stuff like that. So no, I think the reasons always, stayed the same now. I do it for nothing other than enjoyment, really. And maybe there's a bit of an escape sometimes. I could use it as like a bit of an escape just from, like you say, stress or work but yeah, mainly it's mainly for fun.
And you're saying about stress and escapism. It probably leads on to what do you think about when you're running? Is it the stressful things? Is it nothing? What do you think about?
Sometimes, yeah, it depends where I am, what time of day, what I've got on. But it can vary from wondering what I've got to do today and how I'm going to do it. And then normally on the run, I'll figure out how I'm going to do it. Because sometimes it can seem a bit overwhelming, like I've got too much on and I don't know how everything's going to fit. But go for a run, think about it, and more often than not, you come back and you'll know what you're doing. Sometimes on the longer runs, it can sometimes be that if I've got stuff on my mind. But then again, it might be a bit of that, and it might be sometimes I self-reflect about how I can do things better in life, in my running, just how I can do things better in general. Nothing in particular, but yeah, just how I can be better and do things better. Good ideas. What else do I think about when I'm running? Sometimes if I'm doing a particular race, I'll try to visualize what I'm going to do in that race. That can help. Visualization is quite a good tool to help with performance. If you visualize yourself being successful and this is how you're going to do it in the race and everything's going to go well, more often than not, it does go well. You practiced it in your training. See, I can think about many different things on a run. If you could get into my brain and see what I thought on a run, you'd just think I'm a nutter.
At any point that you're thinking, I'm questioning my life choices, why am I doing this? Have you ever thought, I'm going to make such and such client do this next time?
Say that again.
If you're doing something really hard that you think, why did I choose to do this? Because I chose to do it. I'm doing it. Right. I'm going to make client X do this.
They've annoyed me this week. They're doing that next week.
Well, no, they're that good. They should do it.
Saying. Yeah, so my clients, yeah. Sometimes if I'm doing a particular session and it's hard, or I can sometimes get workout ideas when I'm doing some of the harder stuff. I'm thinking, how can I turn this into a session? And I'll get home and put it into Training Peaks and start dishing it out to the athletes.
Do you ever listen to music or podcasts?
Sometimes, I'll be honest, because I tend to drift off. If I try to watch educational podcasts, or even like just like people chatting like we are now, not maybe educational, but just people chatting, I drift off that many times that it's pointless me listening to it when I'm running, because I just don't have a clue what's going on. Mm-hmm. But I do listen to music when I'm in the hills on a long run. Probably not. I find it annoys me after a little bit. After half an hour, it can get inside my brain and it can stop these thoughts that sometimes I like to have when I'm thinking about things. I can't concentrate. But when I'm on a treadmill, for example, or just running on the roads around here, I'll generally have a little bit of music on. Yeah, it helps.
Yeah, the monotony of treadmill running, you need something on just rather than staring at the wall.
Yeah, it's boring. Definitely.
And do you have a dream race that is still on the bucket list?
Yeah, there's quite a few. They're quite short for me, but I quite like the sky races just because of the terrain you're running on and the views you get when you're doing it, if it's a good day. Kima, if you've heard of that, Trofeo Kima, big classic sky race, really technical, and it's got lots of ropes and chains, and it's highly elevated, lots of elevation. That would quite like to do that one day. Maybe I wished I'd have done Killian's race, Tromsø. I don't think that's on anymore. I think he's pulled the plug on that. That would have been a good one. Leadville, quite like to go and do Leadville one day. What's the other one? There's not Hard Rock. There's Leadville, Hard Rock, and Hard Rock. No. I was thinking. Yeah, I don't want to do Western States, but I would love to do Hard Rock and Leadville. They look great. Western States, it looks good, but yeah, I would prefer to do the other two over them.
Maybe and Hard Rock you have to do twice because they do it in different directions. So.
All right. Yeah, no, I'd have a go at that. There's so many good-looking races out there now. The Matterhorn Ultrax one, that looks pretty good. Tour de Glaciers, the Tour 450. I'd like to do that one day. Don't know if I'll do them. There's just too many, isn't there?
Yeah.
There's no harm in admiring them. You don't necessarily have to do them.
Yeah, true.
And the next question, this one can be difficult for people to answer, but is there anybody alive, not fictional or real, that you would like to go for a run with?
Yeah, I had to think about this for a little bit, and I couldn't really think of anybody, but then Zach Miller sprung to mind. Quite like Zach Miller. He's full of energy and it looks like he'd be a good lad to run with. I like the way he races. He's just all in. Do you know what I mean? And when he pulls it off, he pulls it off, and he's not scared to.
Don't hold anything back.
Yeah, he just proper goes in hard. And I've actually seen him at, I think it was Trans Gran Canaria. He did a bit of a Q&A. He just seemed like a fun guy. So probably Zach Miller, yeah. Courtney de Walter, maybe. Good to go for a run with.
And
can't think of anybody else, really.
Zach Miller's a really good answer, to be fair. Is that the guy that danced along the finish line?
Could be. He's crazy. Yeah. He got in trouble in some other country, was it, for pouring water on his head? He did something like he was just hot and he poured water on his head. But I think it's in one of them countries where they don't have a lot of fresh water. Everyone was going mad about it. He was just like, wow, it's just cooling down.
And the last question, unless Mike has any more after this, what is next for you running wise?
So I said this before, I was going to do Ultra Trail Snowdonia in May, and then I was going to go and do either the Swiss Peaks 360 again, or I was going to do the Tour, the 330. But I've been thinking, probably inspired by when I went and helped James the other week, I'm now going to do a Bob Graham in Easter time, give or take a half a month either way. So springtime, Bob Graham, Lakeland 50 in July. I've always had that, and I think it's just a good race to keep in the middle of the year. It's super runnable. There's hiking sections in it where you'll need to power hike, but for the majority of it you're running, and you can run at a good pace. That's my weakness, running. Actually running and running at a decent effort. If you get me like a good steady effort, if I could increase if I could just increase my easy run pace ever so slightly, which is what I've been doing, and it paid off last week. I was a bit faster than what I have been, so I need to keep working on that. So I think by keeping Lakeland 50 in, that'll be a good shout. So Bob Graham, lots of hiking, lots of elevation, bits of running, then Lakeland 50, more running. Then I'm thinking of doing another Steve Parr round, probably end of September or when I've recovered from Lakeland. Back to the fast hiking again, lots of elevation, bits of running. I'd like to do the Parr round anti-clockwise this time because I did the other one clockwise. So I'd like to do the anti-clockwise Parr round, and then all that would have been sort of like geared towards prepping for Spine 2027, because in the Spine you are hiking and running.
Yeah.
The hills are not as big as the Lake District hills. They're not as aggressive, and in a Bob Graham and a Steve Parr round, the elevation's massive. It's a lot of up and down, not much flat running, which is why I try to keep Lakeland sandwiched in between them so that I don't just get good at just hiking. I can kind of transition between hiking and running. So if you think of my plan, Bob Graham hiking, bits of running, lots of elevation. Lakeland, bit of elevation but more running. Parr round, again like a Bob Graham, lots of hiking, bits of running. Build a good strong set of legs, and then after summer, then just put it all in for the Spine 2027, then full Spine, and do more flatter running on rolling trail with bits of hiking in with a heavy pack on. I think that'd be a good prep for them challenges in Lakeland 50. I think that would be good training for a January 2027 Spine, full Spine.
And I just have one more question off of the back of that. When you mentioned those rounds, for someone like myself that hasn't done many hills or rounds and just want to get more elevation and trails into the plan, I personally have Ullswater 20 coming up, and I'm slightly nervous about it. Have you got any advice that you could give to us runners that just want to get in the hills more, but when we're out, I actually personally feel when I'm going up the hills, I'm like, oh my God, I'm dying. How am I going to manage this? Is there any advice you could give to us for getting by that?
Yeah, I would say the elevation itself is what you would call, like, say, specificity of training. To get better at that, you can do specific training, like do more hill work, and that will help you to improve on that. But you need to kind of remember as well that fitness trumps everything. So the fitter you are, the faster you'll be able to get up that hill. So doing interval training would be good. You can do it flat, or you can do it uphill. If you do it uphill, not only are you training your legs muscularly to be able to, cope with the demands of running uphill, but you also, if you run fast and hard up a hill, you're going to max your heart rate out and get some good, cardiovascular, like aerobic sort of like training with that. So mix up your training between, do some interval work to get fitter, and then do some specific work like hill training If you live in an area that's quite, like Glasgow, for example, Monday to Friday, you might have a job, what you will do, and you might not be able to get to the hills that much. Joining a gym, doing some strength work would be good. And then also doing some Stairmaster sessions maybe, and some treadmill incline sessions. You could incorporate that in during the week so that you not only do it. Most people are time crunched. They can only do that on a weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And if they've got families, they can't often get to the hills as much as they'd like to do that. If you've got little ones, so again, yes, it comes to the weekend and they can do that. But if they can't get away because they've got commitments, then they really are stuck. So get to the hills as much as you can to get that in the legs. But if you're struggling, the only other thing you can do is get on the treadmill, set it at a really steep incline, power hiking for long, 30 to 60-minute efforts with a heavy pack on your back. That can be helpful. And then that helps with conditioning. And then if you're in the race, if you've gone a bit heavier with your pack and then you reduce the weight and then your race pack's a little bit lighter. Let's say you're doing Lakeland 50, for example. Your pack might be for 3 to 4 kilograms with food and water if it's a good weather day. You're not having to carry lots of extra kit. If you can train with a 6 to 8 to 10 kilo pack on your back and build it up over time, that's going to become normal to you on your back. And then when you start doing your long runs with the lighter, you do your long runs with still a slightly heavier pack on your back. I would do anyway. And then when you get to race day, once you go to race weight and it's nice and light, you're not going to feel that pack on your back. Whereas somebody that's not really took that into consideration, when they've filled the pack up with everything, they're like, oh, bloody hell, I didn't realise my race pack is going to be this heavy. So that's a good one. But start doing that on your uphill hiking sessions on the treadmill if you're going to do them. And then same on the Stairmaster as well. Stairmaster's a great tool for somebody who wants to get better in the hills, but they don't have hills on the doorstep. Does that make sense?
It does, thank you. The Stairmaster looks torture.
Yeah, it's tough.
And
the only thing you don't get is a downhill element then, which is annoying because you need to condition your quads really for running downhill for long durations. But if you got your back to the wall and that's all you can do, it's better than nothing.
Yeah.
Just linking up the very first question where you said that you'd lost a lot of weight to a weighted backpack. Have you ever tried putting on a backpack that weighs the same amount as the weight that you lost?
No. Well, I might have done, not intentionally. So I have done some guiding work, and when I've done my summer ML stuff, I did have a heavy pack on with like a tent, sleeping bag, food, like for a 3-day expedition. That pack probably weighed about, close to 20 kilos. I know what you're getting at. I've not actually done that, but when I've just put a 10-kilo weight vest on, training for the spine, I can't believe the extra strain that puts on your torso and your limbs and your joints, tendons, ligaments. So I can only imagine what kind of strain I was putting on my body when I was at that heavier weight. It's crazy.
Yeah, I've got to apologise to Howard's clients now because that's the session that they're going to be getting next week.
Well, when I've got quite a few training for Ultra Trail Snowdonia, so now we've got through Christmas and we're getting towards getting into the specific stuff. They're all going to be doing hiking hill reps with weight on the back. A good one is, and it's been around for a few years, but Tom Evans did a little bit with rocks in his backpack. But another one could be just put water in your backpack, bottles of water. Get all your weight in water. Start doing your hiking hill reps at the bottom near a river. You'll fill your bottles up at home because it's faster. Your pack will be preloaded with all that water. You might hike to the top of, say, Skidder, for example, or Helvellyn. Get to the top, tip all the water out, run down, back to the river at the bottom, fill them all up again, fast hike up again. And it just saves ruining your joints by having like 10 to 50, 10 kilograms of water weight smashing through your knees when it's not always necessary.
Yeah. Right. I think that brings us to the end of our question set. So just from me, thank you, Howard, for coming on. Thank you, Nikki, for being Nikki. And it's goodbye from me.
Thank you for coming on, Howard.
No, thanks for having me. It's been good.